On a seemingly ordinary day, a tourist bus departed from the vibrant heart of Manila filled with eager travelers ready to explore the city. Yet, within minutes, the atmosphere inside the bus began to shift from routine to terrifying. What started as a peaceful journey quickly escalated into one of the most gripping and heartbreaking standoffs ever witnessed. As tensions mounted and the situation spiraled out of control, the world would soon be captivated by a drama that unfolded in real time, changing lives and leaving a lasting impact on all who watched. How did a peaceful journey suddenly change to gripping standoffs? Get ready, because this story will keep you on the edge of your seat as you wonder how everything could have gone so wrong. August 23, 2010 was a morning like any other in the bustling city of Manila. The huge Rizal Park was awake to a new day as it always was with people. Tourists and locals came to lie on its green lawns, basking in the sun, enjoying the local history and scenery. The next day, 20 tourists were on an archipelago from Hong Kong to see the central portion of the Philippines. Everyone stood up, got aboard the white tourist bus. Seemingly, everyone had all the feelings of hope because they were ready to take a gamble and head off into an adventure. It was just another typical view of Manila streets. Inside the bus were a group of different passengers: Hong Kong tourist, his local guide, and 4 Filipino nationals. The tourists laughed and chatted as they sped along in the bus, taking pictures, capturing all the culture Manila had to offer. Out on the streets, there was a life of their own. As people moved through the traffic, cars inching along, it was just another day in this pulsating heart of the city. But when the bus approached its stop, an ominous event was about to unfold. As the bus stop came to a stop not far from the historic Fort Santiago, one man made an appearance. Rolando Mendoza stood there, a man who knew Manila streets well. With nearly 30 years of dedicated service, Mendoza had, as a senior inspector with the Philippine National Police, once paroled these very same streets as a protector of the people. On that day, Mendoza was a man hanging by a thread, as he was compelled by the sense of overwhelming injustice and desperation. In his discarded police outfit, he boarded the bus, not giving out a nervous telltale to save his life. He had a rifle in his bag and a fierce yearning for vindication in his heart. Mendoza's story was a story about a fall from grace. He was once a bigwig officer who in 2008 was on the brink of being ejected from the Philippine National Police for extortion cases. All the way through, he was insistent on his innocence and claimed that it was a frame job, an unfair treatment that was put on him. This eventually led to the termination of his career. Now, 2 years later, he feels like there's no other option other than doing something drastic to regain his lost dignity.
Mendoza was a former policeman who was fired from service because of an alleged drug violation, stripping him off from all the benefits of retirement, which is only a year away. He was known to be diligent, was respected in the police force, and was once commended as one of the best policemen in the Philippines. Following the announcement, Mendoza then instructed the passengers to close all the curtains and told the driver to head to Rizal Park, a famous historical site in the Philippines.
The atmosphere in the bus turned from one of good-natured anticipation to grim fear when Mendoza displayed his gun. The tourists who a minute ago were enjoying their holidays were now hostages in a tense standoff. The security and pleasure of visiting this country flew out the window, replaced by the harshness of their situation. His demands were simple. They were to give him his job back, or at the very least, make it very public that he had been railroaded into this situation. The bus doors then closed behind him. Word of the hostage situation spread like wildfire as shockwaves went out of Manila and into the world. By noon, the atmosphere in Rizal Park had completely changed. From a peaceful haven of tourists, it had transformed into a high-stakes battleground, with the white tourist bus in the center. The media was all over the place rushing to the scene, and cameras zoomed in on the unfolding drama. The images that were broadcasted worldwide depicted the bus stationed near the Quirino grandstand, encircled by police vehicles and officers in heavy weaponry. This live coverage transformed the crisis into a global spectacle, with millions of viewers glued to their screens witnessing the unfolding events in real time. The hostages grouped together inside of the bus, and fear was plain to see on their faces. Mendoza allowed them to use their cell phones to contact their families, which was ironic because they struggled to bring peace following a nightmare. A command center was set up outside, and the Manila Police District took the lead on the negotiations. The officials were placed under severe strain to secure peace, but it was demanding when Mendoza's demands did not really leave that much room for concessions. The negotiators tried to keep the intense environment down and invited Mendoza into a discussion by giving him reassurances that his issues are not going to be put on deaf ears. On the other side, Mendoza was firm but rational. He released hostages all day long to indicate that he is interested in settling this issue. After hours, though, tensions started increasing as time was ticking away. The negotiators began to feel that a non-violent solution might be slipping through their fingers. The standoff spilled over well into that afternoon, and there was no indication of any resolution at all. As the oppressive heat intensified, causing discomfort both inside the bus and in the sweltering command center outside, the hours dragged on with everyone on edge. Mendoza, growing more and more impatient, echoed his demands with increased insistence. He asked for a direct line to the media so that he could express his grievances publicly. But the authorities hesitated, thinking about how tensions might rise. That was when Mendoza's family stepped in, and the scene just became more combustible. His brother, Gregorio Mendoza, who was a policeman himself, arrived because he wanted to try and help end the crisis. He was finally able to get his brother to surrender and end the standoff. For a brief moment, it felt like the end was at hand. However, the dilemma proved to be even more drastic. As the day wore on into the evening, the police finally decided to take a drastic step. They realized that it was Gregorio who was actually doing anything but help them and just help his brother. Fearing the worst, they took the fateful decision to arrest Gregorio, and they did so while the television cameras continued rolling. For Rolando Mendoza, the feelings were running wild in him, since he had to keep faith in his brother to serve as an intermediary, and was totally helpless as he was handcuffed and walked away. His brother's capture was the final straw. Out of absolute desperation for his life, he began to get angrier and took a sudden turn into danger. The negotiators did their best to talk to him, but Mendoza had gone beyond the point of negotiating. He then asked that they release his brother or he would begin to execute hostages. It was a threat that nobody took lightly, yet the police found themselves at a loss as to how to calm the escalating situation. And at 7:37 p.m., the situation got even worse. True to his word, Mendoza started firing inside the bus. The sharp cracks of weapon fire pierced the tense silence. The desperate bus driver leapt towards safety the moment he got to do it. He jumped out of the window, rushing towards the police, shouting, "Everyone is dead!" Instantly, his words spread among the onlookers and media, leaving shock among everyone. The Special Weapons and Tactics Unit team carried out its landing attack on the bus. In an operation that was meant to be swift and surgical, things had unexpectedly gone completely off the rails. The unprepared team, with no game plan to speak of, had to struggle for control against the increasing chaos. They lobbed piles of tear gas inside the bus and tried to shoot its windows and open its doors, but they were answered back by Mendoza, who was able to keep up his fight versus the police. The scenario was a nightmare, a scramble of broken glass, gunshots ringing out, and hostages inside were screaming their lungs out. It went on for a long 90 minutes. Then, finally, the Special Weapons and Tactics Unit team burst through the door of the bus, but it was too late. Mendoza was already dead. Before that, he had killed 8 of the harmless hostage group. All the others who were uninjured were sent away to the hospitals closest to the city. The once busy Rizal Park was silent, and all that was there was a bus that stood there as a grim witness to what was happening. In the immediate aftermath of the crisis, Manila was a city in shock. With the aid of the media, which broadcasted the incident live, the harrowing footage of the bloodied bus and the bodies of the victims being carried away played on in an endless loop. It was something that the families of the victims could not even imagine in Hong Kong and the Philippines. The idea that their loved ones were now missing forever because of an act of senseless violence left a permanent scar in their hearts. Both the governments of the Philippines and Hong Kong initiated investigations into the incident and demanded to know how a tragedy this big could occur. These findings were truly damning, portraying an operation that was in many ways destined to be damned right from the start. Appalled at the death of its people, the government of Hong Kong has since declared a travel black alert on tours to the Philippines, effectively dissuading its citizens there from leaving to the country anymore. Could the lives lost have been saved that day if better decisions were made? And what lesson did you learn from the failures that led to such consequences? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.